Hello, goblins and ghouls. Technically, wisdom can come from anywhere, from a great philosopher, a race car driver, or the town drunk. All humans are potentially strong, capable, and confident, but all humans are also presenting dilemmas, individually and as a whole. That's why sometimes it actually is best to do nothing. In certain contexts, depending on how high the cost of failure is, those who do not try at all may achieve far more than those who try and fail. Obviously, that contradicts some bumper sticker style wisdom. Examples: the American basketball coach John Wooden said, quote, "Failure isn't fatal, but failure to change might be." Now, that's not a bad quote, but let's not forget that might be is not always. And some people who try and fail burn out in the process and give up, if not destroy themselves, by pushing themselves too hard. Then there's H. Jackson Brown, Jr., author of Life's Little Instruction Book, who said, "Don't judge those who try and fail. Judge only those who fail to try." Again, it doesn't sound like a bad quote altogether, but life is not necessarily all about failing, trying, or striving for any special success. In fact, I don't think it's healthy for that to so often be the focus, personally. Under certain conditions, high levels of determination might limit a person, as counterintuitive as that probably sounds in terms of bumper sticker style logic. Often a small amount of effort paired with adaptability seems sufficient for success, rather than always clinging to grit and determination and the old ways of doing things. Sometimes, if you're too busy shooting for the stars, you might miss what's closer to you right here on Earth, including what's right in front of your beady little eyes. But if you're going to aim high, that is going to require sacrifice for you, and you may need to become more of a self-punishing perfectionist. And there's always a risk you'll end up punishing others around you, too, and possibly burning bridges. So be aware of that risk. I think the so-called zero defect strategy pattern highlighted by Philip Crosby in his book Absolutes of Quality Management are bound to be most successful when they're combined with a certain commitment avoidance in one's personal life. So here are the zero defects ideas, in case you never heard of them, and don't feel bad if you haven't, because I just heard about that specific idea recently myself. So I'm not actually pretending that I'm, like a foremost expert on this person or his ideas. But anyway, here's the zero defects theory. It's based on 4 elements. First one is quality is a state of assurance to requirements. This is the second element. Get something right the first time. Element 3. Quality is measured in financial terms. And 4. Performance should be judged by the accepted standards as close to perfection as possible. So, if you are busy focusing on perfecting things in your career or whatever, it may lead to commitment issues in your personal life. You'll need a strategy to minimize psychological and physical costs, and that's why there's always been some push for work designed for health to combat the whole burnout phenomenon. However, if you wish to not jeopardize your health by being a fanatical workaholic or whatever, and your physical and mental well-being, if you care about that, you might want to choose a modest, ordinary career path. And you don't need to beat yourself up if you're basically an average person. In other words, humans are not useless, all the time anyway, while scientists and rationalists are not all saintly, and neither are these self-help gurus. They're often not nearly as great as they build themselves up to be. See, keep in mind that these people who are basically careerists and all about, self improvement and perfection, often they're overcompensating for something, or they have some sort of gimmick that they're using to prop themselves up to make a bunch of money off of a target audience. I always keep that in mind. Meanwhile, let's not forget that while hardworking specialists have blessed us with things that seem great, they're also human beings who sometimes fail, sometimes spectacularly, and they may not be as extraordinary as we would want them to be. Plus, we need to place more value in those working the so called gig economy and, ordinary working people, rather than endlessly worship the legacies of innovators who are all too often treated like demigods. Just because somebody is successful in some way doesn't mean they're like absolute geniuses or have some sort of godlike abilities or whatever. Sometimes it just means they applied their knowledge and their skill set in a certain way. Sometimes it means they just happen to have dumb luck. And of course, sometimes they're from spoiled rich families who had connections and there was some nepotism involved or all kinds of stuff like that figures into it sometimes. And there's an occasional rags to riches story, but those are actually more rare than the myth would have the standard person believe. At best, we're the products of unique and provocative natural evolutionary processes. And we should keep that in mind at all times. It's not like there's nothing special about us, but let's not pretend that we're so grand and so great that we become too big for our britches. So that's about it for this little episode. If you liked it, don't be afraid to say you did, and you can share this episode with people. Go ahead and do that. And if you're open to it, take a second to support me on Anchor at anchor.fm/Wade Wainio. And that last name is Wainio. Like Janine Garofalo joked about her own name. It's spelled like the animal. Also, I won't refuse donations on my PayPal email address, which is wadewainio@gmail.com. So, that's about all I need to say here. Hopefully you saw a little bit of point to this episode, and you can have yourself a great day. How about that?